Hey friends, welcome back to another Seed Talk with Lisa and Layne. Hey Layne.
Hello, the garden is kind of exploding right now, isn't it,
Oh
Lisa?
my goodness gracious. I mean, it's like overnight, all it takes is a
Yeah,
one day of heat. And I mean, heat pushes us over the edge, but it also pushes our plants. And it's just very exciting right now. Every time you go out, you find something new just popping. It's awesome.
it's so fun.
So, Layne, what are we going to talk about today? But before you share that secret, because I actually kind of know what you're going to talk about, and
Yes.
it's something super popular. But first, friends, remember that this broadcast is brought to you by thegardenersworkshop.com, which is what kind of keeps Layne and I busy during the day. And friends, there are so many resources over there. Our fully stocked online garden shop, as well as an online library that is packed with online courses. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
Layne, tell us about the newest course that just came out that you have your hands all over.
Well, you may have heard on our last two podcasts, but we do have a new course called Cool Flowers from Seed to Harvest. So if you'd like to see demonstrations, hands-on demos in the field of how to harvest, including the proper harvest stage, as well as too early and too late, where to make the cut and how to strip the stems, and
Yes.
all sorts of other information for the cool flowers that we hope you have blooming outside right now, please check out our course and you can actually watch a free sneak peek of an entire session and you're free to enjoy that whether or not you decide to purchase the course. So I'll include the link in the show notes and be sure to check it out because we cover over 35 different cool flowers and show you everything from
Mm.
sowing to harvesting.
And Layne, I was just talking about this earlier that one of the biggest struggles we face in our cut flower industry right now is knowing the proper stage to harvest
Oh,
is
yes.
I mean, it's different for every flower. So I understand why there's so many people that haven't got that learning curve under their belt yet. And we're seeing so many old flowers
Yeah.
being offered, in farmers market stands and pictures and in bouquets. And that was really a big part of what we wanted this course to really share with people is this is it. This is too old. This is too
Yep.
early. And so, folks, if you haven't gotten that down yet, that harvesting stage to harvest, this course can really help you turn the corner. It is, I say every step is the most important. But if you work so hard to grow such a great flower and then cut it at the wrong stage, and sell it or try to sell it, it's really a disservice to you, what your all your work, and to your customers. So
It's
y'all need to
true.
check it out. That's just such an exciting part of this course for me is helping people get through that. So Layne, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we have a little bit of an exciting announcement today because we're actually inducting a new member into our pantheon of cool flowers, aka Cool Season Hardy Annuals. And if you're watching over on YouTube, you might see what Lisa is grabbing onto right now. It is bunny tails grass. It is the cutest little powder puff flower, and it is always in our top seller list no matter what time of year, right, Lisa?
It's true. I mean, I'm holding this big bunch and I mean, they're so soft. I mean, it
Oh,
feels like a bunny tail.
yes.
I mean, I had a rabbit when I was growing up for 12
Oh,
years,
you
my
did.
rabbit lived, and I can tell you I have experience touching bunny tails. This bunny tail feels like a real bunny tail. I'm pretty in love with them, even though they're not the tallest flower that we've ever grown, but they're definitely taller when we treat them like a cool flower than they do otherwise, right?
Yes. I have to ask, what was your rabbit's name, Lisa?
Fluffy, what else?
Oh, there you go.
It was a dwarf Netherland. My dad brought it home for he worked at the telephone company and he just came home one day with something in his coat. I mean,
Oh, how exciting.
he knew he was going to be bringing it home because he had already built a hutch and all that kind of stuff for him. And yeah, so that rabbit literally would hop. We would baby gate him in our kitchen and he would hop around and be loose. And yeah, it was our rabbit. We had guinea pigs too. So
Oh,
the
how
three of
fun.
them, Snoopy and Nosy and
Oh,
Schultz, we actually had three. But yeah, so
yeah.
love bunny tails. So these are very authentic, y'all. And I did grow these right out in my garden.
They are. And my husband and I were actually just outside in our garden the other day, and we stood there as these two sweet little bunny rabbits chased each other around. We just kind of watched them. And so I too can verify that these do look like authentic bunny.
Yeah, little bunny tails,
Yeah,
right?
yes. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so like we mentioned, we're going to be talking about a grass today that is known as bunny tails grass. It's also called hare's tail grass or rabbit tail grass. And the botanical name of this grass is Lagurus ovatus. And the first word in that name actually means hare tail in Greek. And the second part of that name means ovate or shaped like an egg. Both of those words obviously refer to these sweet little blooms. It has these fluffy little flower heads that literally look like a rabbit's cottontail, hence the name. And the plants are compact, like Lisa mentioned. It's really great if you want to use it even in a container. And the flowers themselves can be used as a filler. They dry well, and they're just a really cute addition to any bouquet, but they also look so sweet just bunched together all by themselves.
I am super excited, Layne, to really dry a significant amount of these this year because
Yeah.
we have four plantings in the garden right now. This planting that I've cut is the very first fall planting that we did last year of some really large mature plants. Actually, we sat on the transplants longer than we normally do because we kept using them as demonstrations, but they kept still looking so great that Bobo and I decided, even though we had started more seed specifically to fall plant, we decided to plant these also. So these are just incredibly, I just can't stop looking at them
And touching them.
and touching them.
The flowers start off with this sort of green hue and then they age to this creamy white and take on some tan tones. They're just
Yes.
super cute. They're just soft, fuzzy little puffs.
I mean, I'm just sitting here petting them. If y'all are listening instead of watching on YouTube, I mean, it's like petting a dog's head. Golden retrievers just love to have somebody pull on their ears and rub them. But we are going to be drying a lot of these this year to see how that all goes because I can really see the significant use in dried work as well as these early spring blooms
Oh,
fresh.
yeah. So, Lisa, did you grow this when you were in your high production years, or when did you start growing this?
Actually, I did not because I had certain parameters for things to really qualify for high production, meaning it had to get definitely tall to very tall. And just that alone kept these little bunny tails out because I mean, I think they're 15 to 24 inches like at best. And when you're cutting 15,000 stems of flowers a week, you do not want to be basically almost down on the ground trying to get these short little stems, right? So while they are super precious, they did not fit our high production protocol. But let me tell you, they are fitting right into our market size garden. I can tell you that our customers that were our members only farm, the market here on the farm that was a private members only flower club, my goodness, they would have loved this little flower. I mean, this would just be totally precious in a vase by itself. You don't need to
Yes.
use it in bouquets, right?
Yes. And we should point out, in case you aren't watching on YouTube, they are actually blooming right now. And we'll get into the details of when they were planted to make that
Yes.
happen in our area. But imagine if, depending on when Easter falls on a given
Oh,
year, can you imagine having these in
yeah.
for Easter?
So literally this image that Layne has up, I took that image this morning and
Yeah.
what is today, Layne? April 18th, 19th?
Correct. April
Yeah.
18th is when we're recording it.
And they have been blooming probably for at least a week or more. They were a little bit shorter. They're definitely elongating as the days are getting warmer and longer. But yeah, so they're a great early season. Yeah, I can see them definitely tucked in. Can you imagine having little pots of these to sell at a farmer's market or something
Ugh.
to tuck into Easter baskets?
Or to decorate your Easter table. Oh my
Yes, 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 yes. Oh my
So
goodness.
cute. So,
Yes.
Lisa, do you think this is something, had you grown this in your high production years, would you sell these stems to your commercial customers, or do you think this is something you would use more tucked into your subscription bouquets?
I think because we took care of of our 23 florists, about three of them were always up for something new and different. I mean, they were not scared of short, tall, different. they would have totally embraced this. I mean, they would have just taken it over the top, promoting it. I mean, we know bunny tails is like one of the most popular seeds we sell, right?
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, and I would see it no different for a commercial customer, but you would definitely have to train them. You would have to grow a bunch and then walk in with your order and, hey, I've got some free samples for you. So the first year you aren't going to sell them. The first year you're likely going to give them away as free samples to your commercial customers. I mean, you're not giving away bunches. You're going to give them 2 or 3 bunches and say, hey, see how you can use this. Are they not the most precious thing you've ever seen? And then next year they'll be back for more.
And these are so adorable out in the landscape as well. It's great to have a grass blooming so early in the season.
Yeah.
And just to describe the actual plants a little more, they have sort of a soft green foliage. The leaves are kind of narrow and they form a little clump.
And I mean, and they definitely fall into the grass family. I mean, they look like a grass when you
Yeah.
stop and just look at the stem and the foliage that we just, the foliage doesn't play a role in the display of them. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of good stuff about them.
So the issue with bunny tails for a lot of people, like we've already alluded to, is that it tends to be a shorter plant. And sometimes when plants are shorter, they truly are just shorter, but sometimes they might just be a cool flower in disguise, and we can coax a little bit more height out
Sure.
of them by planting at a different time. So
Yeah.
Lisa, can you talk about this little bunny tails experiment that you've conducted over the past year?
Sure. So a couple of years, well, we started messing around with bunny tails probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I mean, I just assumed it was a warm season tender annual. You kind of assume that because there's no indication, you have no other information to go on. And they were just so darn short.
Yeah.
And then I cannot remember where it was, if it was social media or maybe it was one of our students, that in a conversation they were having with somebody that said, oh, I live in winter hardiness zone 8, which happens to be the same as mine. And we actually treat bunny tails like a perennial or hardy annual because it survives winter where we are. And I think even deeper south, it may in fact perennialize. I cannot say that factually, but I would say if you are in zone 8 and 9, it is definitely worth a try, because if you perennialize it, then the subsequent years in the future typically will produce taller stems. But when I read that it survived winter in zone 8, I thought, my goodness gracious, this is a cool flower, and I just didn't know it. And
Yeah.
so we starting seeds to put in with our fall planting. And I will say, they wintered over here beautifully. I mean, we don't give our cool flowers a lot of cuddling other than that row cover to protect from wind and the deer. But, when cold temperatures come, we aren't double clothing, double row covering anything. And we saw virtually no loss without
Wow.
any much intervention. So I'm just saying, if you're in zone 7, I definitely think I would try fall planting these for sure, in an effort to get them earlier and to get taller stems.
Yeah, so definitely zone 8, which is where you're located, Lisa, zone 8A. And then in zone 7, it is worth an experiment. So you
Yes.
planted transplants out, Lisa, and you planted them along the typical cool flowers fall planting timeline.
Yes. And we also, continue in our experiment. We very early spring planted them again to see what that did. Because, I have had the experience that sometimes stuff will survive winter, but it's just so hard on them. They just never really recover to perform to their top level. So sometimes a very early spring planting could, in fact, outperform a fall planting. So we've got that, and of course the jury's still out on that because they're just starting to get going. They've only been in the ground 2 months. Yeah.
How long do you expect this patch to keep blooming for, if you had to
So
guess?
if I had to guess, so if you can look at this image, both of which were just taken, that there's like a second tier of blooms coming. You can see those pale green lower blooms. And I'll be really honest, we're just waiting and watching. So
Yeah.
these that I just harvested this morning, I cut, so there's like, I would say 12 or 15 large clusters of that very first fall planting that these came from. I cut about 3 of them, literally just cut them off at ground level, leaving just a couple inches of stubs to have something to actually help them regrow to see what happens. The rest of them, I just left. And I'm going to look at them again on Monday and see, because they're getting taller. I don't want to cut everything off. And in fact, cut off maybe some of those lower ones are going to shoot past their early bird brothers and sisters and actually become much better quality tall stems. So the jury is still out on that.
What was the height of these plants versus the plantings you've done in the past when you treated it as a warm season tender annual?
So in the past, literally when we planted it as warm, I mean, they were 8 to 10 inches, full canopies, like this. They're just full of stems, right? But they were so short, which could be totally precious in a container garden, or in a landscape, right? I mean, how sweet would that be to have them right next to your front door or something? But I am actually very encouraged. This bloom right here is, I'm going to say, probably 15 inches. So I'm just really excited to see what happens over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
And will you be planting any successions beyond that very early spring planting?
No, because to be a candidate in my book as a cool flower, cool season hardy annual, for succession, you have to be a super tall plant, because I know you're going to be shorter naturally just because it's warmer conditions, usually. Yep. I just think this is a fun plant that every, especially small flower farming grower, if you are, just take into consideration for a minute, if farmers market is your niche and you don't have a lot of early flowers, this would be a really great little plant to plant in containers, small containers, in the fall. Give them a little TLC over winter, get them up and going. I bet you could sell little pots of this for $15 at the farmer's market, and have you have a picture like this, because I'm telling you, those are for early season stuff. We're always looking for cash flow and things that are just going to grab people, and this could be one of them.
And the fact that they can just be dried, that just adds another level. Anytime a flower can be dried, that just adds value to it for the farmer.
Yes, for sure. That's right. So even if they bloom earlier than you have anything else, so you really can't do anything with them, then yes, you grab up little bunches, arrange them kind of like you want. They look nice, and hang them up to dry. They'll be great.
All right, well, that was it for our Bunny Tails episode. We just wanted to get the message out that it is officially a cool flower, so please give it a try. Fall planting if you live in zones 8 or warmer, experiment if you live maybe in zone 7, and then everyone can very early spring plant Bunny Tails as a cool flower, and we just really hope you try it. Please make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this, and we always appreciate your ratings and reviews in a podcast app and your likes and comments over on YouTube. And just thanks so much again for being here with us.
So friends, until we meet again, ciao.
Bye.